Again, I tried it 10 times, changed it back. So we have to go with that. This is okay.
Vamos a que te pido. ¿Tienes energía de sobra? La energía de todo este sitio. Oh, mira, solamente ya. Que vaya la web. You have to ask for. Okay.
So, welcome to this first TIC online streaming transmission. Welcome to all listeners and viewers around the world.
Thank you, Wilfried. Breath is connection. And it's beautiful to be connected, not just with so many people from so many different countries in the room, but also with all those who want to join us electronically via the internet. So I want to invite you, and I also want to invite our viewers online to start this first lecture with a deep breath. We're at the beginning of a series of keynote lectures Wilfried put together, and I'm inclined to say they are a very nice menu. And some of you might already think about dinner, which is coming up. So think of them as a starter and enjoy them in the same way as we're able to enjoy the delicious dinner here in this hotel. I'm Wolfgang, and I'm the science coordinator of this conference. So you might wonder why the Global Inspiration Conference needs a science coordinator, or the science coordinator might be doing, or whatever. And I also wonder, because most of what we're doing here is experiential. Most of the workshops are learning, are exploring, are gaining knowledge about the inside and outside world through our breathing and through our bodies. And this view, or this idea that we can generate knowledge in this way, is conflicting with a very dominant view that exists in science since the 17th century, when Descartes was the predominant figure and convinced that the only way to explore and to create knowledge is through the mind. And the body is something that is separated from the mind. And the mind is the only way to gain knowledge over matter. And the body is just mere matter which operates according to certain laws which might be gained insights about by the mind. So how are we going to deal with this contradiction, or with this difficulty, or with this challenge? And Wilfried and I, we were giving a talk at the Global Inspiration Conference in Ireland in 2014. And we were trying to find a way to bridge this gap, to find a way, and we were arguing basically that it's not only that breathwork should apply scientific methods, but also science should learn from breathwork. It's the other way around. So what is that supposed to mean? It's supposed to, for us, having to find a way to overcome and transcend the body and mind dichotomy and the body and mind distinction. And that's, for me, this lecture is an invitation to bridge this gap and to experience us as learning and integrating with our body and our mind. And I hope and I'm sure that our speakers are going to contribute to that. So my wish and my invitation is for you to explore these lectures in this way and to explore yourself in this way. So to open up with your breathing and to stay connected with your body, and to acknowledge and appreciate and stay connected with your mind. Okay, so much about science. Our first topic is Lotus birth, which is a very interesting topic. And for you is probably, for all of you, is probably obvious that breath work is very closely tied and connected with birth. I don't have to mention that, or rebirthing and all the other therapeutic work that has been done in connection with birth. So it's, I think, a very good idea to start with this very fundamental experience we have all gone through. And if you haven't come across the notion or the word of lotus birth, don't worry. I was asking a few months before the birth of my son, the gynecologist in charge, what he thinks about lotus birth. And he had no idea what I'm talking about. So, welcome Susanna, welcome Indalecia. I'm very curious about your talk. And if we have time, you're invited for asking questions, and we're going to produce additional material. So I'm going to do interviews with all the keynote speakers. So if you have a burning issue, if you have a burning question, find me after the presentation, after the talk, and I may be able to ask the speakers afterwards. Okay, so I hand over to Susanna and Indalecia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for your introduction. Yes, I'm pleased and honored to introduce Lotus Birth. It has been my way with Susanna, and we have been working since 2004. But after this journey that we have been through with Susanna, and we translate a book also in Italian. We started a journey how we can put together to make women to really go through the process of Lotus Birth. And there's also the energy that Susanna Swabana was called to continue this work. And I've been holding a lot with her, but she did also a study of doing a survey with different mothers, and I want to acknowledge this work because it's the only one has been done up to now in the world. Following the births of different babies, Lotus birth babies, that right now they have 12 years old in Italy. So I want to introduce my sister, my friend, and my roommate, Susanna. No.
Well, welcome to everyone, and thank you to be here. I met Lotus Birth in 2002 in Venezuela, at the G in Venezuela. And since then, it became a very important part of my life. Now I will explain what it is and why it's so important, because as all you know, how we give birth to our children is very important for the pattern, I mean the imprinting of the breath also. So let's go. Yeah.
So,
Sorry, Lotus Birth, to wait is the way.
Yeah.
Yes, it takes time, and it's right to do that. Okay, Lotus Birth. I forgive my reading because I put it down the words that I want to say, because my English, I'm not very sure about it, so it's better for me to read what I want to say. Well, even if Lotus Birth seems to be a new age thinking for someone like that, we all know that it's not like that. It's practiced since long time ago. We don't know exactly what was the beginning of Lotus Birth, but there are some evidences that shows how many ancient cultures were wisely aware about the placenta and leaving the placenta connected to the child, that the placenta is considered the life source of the baby. And many contemporary cultures also are very conscious about the placenta and value it. And they consider the child the twin of the placenta. Some of them, they call it the grandmother of the baby. And we have some witnesses about the first American pioneers that used not to cut the cord, and we know that they were very strong people and long-lived people. But at the end of 70s, the practice became common against those families of yoga practitioners that loved this way to come to the world for its non-violent and respectful nature. Lotus birth take name from Claire Lotus Day, is an American nurse, was an American nurse, with the gift to see the aura of the people. When she became pregnant, she looks for a midwife that allowed her not to cut the cord. But we have words from very far, I mean the past. Look at this date, is 369 before Christ. Aristotle says that placenta, what he said, I don't see. Describe it. Yes.
He described how depressed newborns could benefit at birth from the placental blood. So it's able to bring to life the infant who appeared to be lifeless.
And then also, I like those words that are from a contemporary writer who is Ronald Lang. He's a Scottish psychiatrist. And he's asking if it's really needed to cut it. And what is the damage? Which is the damage if we wait? As the detachment happens in a natural way, why we have to interfere with the natural course of events? And also the World Health Organization, WHO, says that physiological procedure is to delay the cord cutting or not cut at all the cord. Immediate cutting is an invasive procedure that must be justified, and in physiological birth is not justified. What lotus birth means is waiting for the natural and spontaneous separation of the placenta. And who knows that? The newborn knows that. He knows the time to let go his or her placenta. We have to know that placenta is an external organ, is a femoral organ, temporary, but is an organ of the baby, just like liver, lungs, heart. So at the time of the fertilization of the egg, the organism that is formed divides itself in two parts. One part is the baby, and the other one is the placenta. So what does it mean? The cell division, yeah, one part is the baby, the other part is the placenta. And so it means that placenta and baby, they share the same DNA. They are formed from the same cells. They have the same vibration. So the placenta has to be considered part of the baby. That after having performed his task, he dies. It's finished. Yeah. It's the first protector, first mother of the baby, and also the first experience of unconditional love that we receive. You can see the cut of the cord, the moment where the cord is cutted, is really something that I can perceive like a violence, yes. Because the blade of an instrument is used to cut, and this blade is very sharp, and as you imagine, could create it creates a wound. And if a physical wound is created, is also created an emotional wound, a psychological wound. And every wound has to be healed in life. And some of them are difficult to go through. But the question is, how could be the world without any wounded people? Yeah. Here you can see some images of lotus babies. That really is like the best passport to life, you see? Smiling and peaceful and quiet. And you see, the placenta is really part of the family in the Lotus days. Many mothers, they told me, oh, we had really agreed when the placenta detached because it was a part of our family. We gave her a name. Yeah, the placenta after birth, inside the womb, I think we know a little bit what it is. It's very important for nurturing the baby, for his breathing and everything. But after birth, it's also an organ of stability. And there are very strong, energetic, spiritual benefits. And since now we cannot measure in a scientific way, those benefits come from the vital force. Yes, from the vital force inside the unity, placenta, umbilical cord, and baby, that is like root, stem, and offspring. We think and perceive that the placenta after birth has still functions, like to transfer to the newborn the knowledge of the universal laws. On the biblical tradition, the tree of knowledge is the tree of good and evil. So look at these branches. It's really like the placenta branches, very similar. Yeah, some placenta footprint that the mother used to do. It is like a masterpiece. No, it's very nice. Okay. There is a new branch of research at the Stanford University, California, that is called neuroscience research. And they established that the placenta is not a passive filter. That is, the synthesizer of serotonin, and is essential organ to life, even if it's not a long life organ. It heals and protects the brain development of the child, and this is very important. And in case of mother's malnutrition, she breaks down its own tissues to nourish the fetus. So she's also clever. She's very intelligent. Yeah, the placenta releases the serotonin, that it goes in the fetal circulation from where it reaches the baby's brain, the forebrain part. What is serotonin? Serotonin is this neurotransmitter, very important for the good development of the brain, pancreas, and heart. Is a neurotransmitter, yes. that affects the well-being. So we are looking for serotonin in chocolate, in nuts, just because we need it. Okay? So it's important to receive it for the baby in the womb. From the placenta, it's natural serotonin. When we cut the cord from the 30 to 50% of blood that has been produced for the newborn use, remains in the placenta. And this is a lot, because it's like to say 160 milliliter, is approximately 160 milliliter, this is the quantity, but it means 1,200 milliliter for an adult. Can you imagine? When you give your blood, they just take from you 400 milliliter. You remember? We did it. Yeah, welcome. So we don't want to say that, to see that baby will be a little bit disappointed about that. Not only a little bit.
Yeah, not a lot.
And then we have to know that cutting the cord, there is a particular moment that is called gap moment, where the oxygen, it doesn't go to the brain. So it's a gap of oxygen. It's a little blackout. So this lack of oxygen is crucial sometimes for the well functioning of all the brain functions of the baby. And if we leave it, if we don't cut the cord, it means the first breath is not only from the lungs, from the respiratory system, but it comes from two sources, placenta, and also respiratory system that has to settle down a little. It's not really ready at that time.
So the brain can be saved.
The brain can be saved, sure. And then there is another thing very important, that at birth, it opens this very special window of opportunity. And this unique, this window, because the time is short, is about 40 minutes. And during this time, the newborn, if the newborn receives at close distance the loving side of the mother, a strong release of oxytocin, that is the love hormone, occurs. And this release is important because it allows the reptilian brain to connect with the median brain. And this connection determines that the vague nerve creates the connection between brain and heart. So this connection is the neurological and physiological basis for the experience of intimacy. And from the moment of birth to the natural separation of the placenta are happening many changes, chemical changes, hormonal changes, and also emotional changes. And this is Dr. Sarah Buckley. She is Australian. She is very well known all over the world. She's a gynecologist, and she said that she sees in her children Lotus burn a special self-control and integrity. And she's sure that the cohesion of her family is due, at least in part, to the imprinting of unity and no separation that Lotus birth produces. She had 4 children, all Lotus born. You can see that we have also in our life placenta memories. This is a scan picture in the uterus, the baby, and he's holding the cord. And the same thing happens when the baby is born. It's the first toy for the baby in the womb, the cord. Also about placenta memories. This is a drawing from a girl, 5 years old, that mother asked her, "Do you remember where you were in my belly?" And put it down in a drawing, what you remember about that. And she drew that. Placenta memory, yeah. Many times the babies are looking at each other now. And we have placenta memory also in the heart. Many sculptures, many paintings about placenta. This is umbilical tears. And also Charlie Brown, the little cover blanket that he carries. This is the placenta. It's a placenta memory. It doesn't go anywhere without it. Yeah. If we think that we are not only physical material, and we believe on others' body levels, we can easily understand that the placenta, that is blood of our blood and cells of our cell, is also part of our etheric body. Also, the etheric body is not visible, like the physical body is even more important than the physical one. You may think of it like the atmosphere for the planet Earth, compared to the planet Earth, that any intervention on the atmosphere has an impact on the planet. And same thing happens when you turn your body. Any imbalance on it creates imbalance on the physical body. Okay. Yeah. So maintaining the connection with the placenta, it allows that vital energy of the placenta continues to be transferred to the child, since the body, the auric field is completely completed. Yeah. So we have really to change this paradigm that the placenta is a mother organ or is for the mother. Placenta is a part of the baby. And the forced and prenatal result to be separated from our placenta creates a trauma that is hardly curable in our life. It's like someone who has lost arms or legs, and he cannot forget the sensation that is called the phantom limb. On the same way, the child cannot forget his placenta. And during our life, at the perceiving level, we never join that something, the relationship that we have with the placenta, that it was so perfect, so fulfilling. Because both of us, in the relationship, we are on the same research, in this impossible search of feeling of peace and completeness that we have experimented on that last union. And so we create sometimes difficulties. Yeah, Lotus birth came to me, and it gave me many answers to the multiple questions on my professional experience of breath worker. And the question were, why we are often searching something unobtainable, why our relationships are often based on need, and why we believe that happiness is finding the twin soul, why so many young people are affected from panic crisis, and why so many addictions, smoking, coffee, drugs, sex, and whatever, and why so much aggression, and why so much unhappiness. And waiting for the natural detachment teach us to cultivate passions and respect for the individual time that often are not respected. And the natural let go of the placenta is the acceptance also of how things hands, and to feel whole, and to have an inner integrity and inner stability. So I started to, this is the world of this neuroscientist, Anna Penn, that she said, mothers, when you give birth to your baby placenta, look at it and touch it and appreciate it. It's not so cute as your baby, but it's the amazing organ that helped it to bring your baby into this world in a protective and nurturing way. And for this, the placenta has to be acknowledged in this miraculous process called life. She's a young mother. And yes, now I'm asking to myself, how many conditioning that are affecting our way of thinking without letting new possibilities to come? Now I'm talking about Lotus birth and the fact that it's not so accepted everywhere. It's essential to ask this question to ourselves, to allow the science, technology, and spirituality could walk side by side. Because science cannot be imprisoned. Science has to flow freely, and science is in constant evolution. And this is the end. Part of it, yeah. But for this presentation, those are the words that came to me, and they invited me to go on with Lotus birth. They are Dalai Lama words that I heard years and years ago, and for me, very important. And so I thank you for this part.
And this is just the presentation of what is the meaning of Lotus birth. If you want to know how long it will take to the waiting moment of the placenta, it can happen from 3 to 10 days. And this is amazing. The average is right now is 3-4. Yeah. But following what there was written in the Lotus birth book and the experience they have in Australia, it was like from 3 to 10.
Yeah, you can have in English also books about Lotus birth, like the one from Shiva Rashana, Lotus birth is called the title. And another very nice book, very good book, is the one that Robin Lim, she's a midwife from Bali, she wrote, and the title is Placenta, the Forgotten Chakra. So this is the survey. That I presented last year in Rome at the House of Representatives in May. Okay, Lotus birth is the golden standard of the respectful and spiritual birth. The umbilical cord is not cut, as I told you before, until the spontaneous separation within 3-4 days from the childbirth. Yes, I'm promoting Lotus birth only by heart because I deeply love you. Okay, good. And the adventure begins. It takes name from the intuition of a Californian nurse, Claire Lotus Day, and it started then to spread all over the world, from Australia to United States, from Indonesia to Italy. My involvement in Lotus birth is to address mothers where to go to obtain a Lotus birth, giving them names of midwives, advices, etc. Giving lectures and workshops in Italy and Switzerland, and now Austria. What is the intent, the goal of this survey? Is the communication. Is the target of this detection is to spread Lotus birth to the scientific community and to everyone who is interested. The method I used, those birth data comes from the spontaneous registration on the Albo Nascite.
The birth data that we have in the website. It's the birth data we have in the website. People register when they have their babies. And it's not something that they just do it by a spontaneous way. It's not being forced.
But we should believe that many other Lotus births have not been registered, and all those data that I will show you now have been collected by phone interviews to the mothers during March-April 2016. The Lotus population in Italy. Yeah, at that time I had 602 registered births. Now there are more. And the champion is 103, using the proportional graphic distribution. And yeah.
What does that mean, champion?
Champions, it means the one that we interviewed. I mean, it was like a champions that I got from my old data.
Sample.
Sample. Sorry. Yeah, maybe samples was better. But they are champions, those babies. Ah, they are champions. Yeah. This is a fraud. So the Lotus population in Italy is 74% North Italy, 14% central, and 12% on the south of Italy. The birthplace chosen was 60% home birth, and 40% hospital births due mainly to economical reasons or fear reasons also.
A lot of fear.
Yeah, it is unjustified. Mothers. Yeah, Lotus mothers' age is mainly between 31 and 40 years. They are graduated and are mostly employees. Many of them lives with the father of the child.
They're in couples.
Are in couple. It's too quick? Can you get the... Okay. The delivery and perinatal period. The perception of an easy delivery is prevailing. The navel, the detachment of the cord is perfectly closed and healed on 95%. The 5% has been very lightly secretive, but just a very short treatment with arnica and echinacea was fine. And the 99%, that's important, had no infections at all. This record is important because doctors' main fear is about infections from the placenta. And this 1% of positivity is that the baby had at 18 days from birth a fever. They could not make a diagnosis, but they just healed it with homeopathic remedies, and it was really fine. Oops. I don't. Oh.
Has encountered a problem. Okay. This is the cut of the cord.
This is the cut of the cord.
This happens.
Sometimes. You were? No. I didn't have a number 11. Yeah, about the children. The choice for a family of a lotus birth is equal for a firstborn or others. And all of children, those children are or have been breastfed. The motor development. That's, the data are from 3 years up. Sure, not the very newborn motor development. Mostly of the lotus birth children have crawled and started to walk on the norm. And what about the cognitive development? Also from 3 years up. And also the speaking development is on the norm. And many families are bilingual and trilingual. So it's not really so easy. And the learning capacities is easy, and capability of concentration on playing, on studying is very good, it's good. And what about the emotional development? The majority of lotus birth children have a poor tendency to cry, and it's very easy for them to be comforted. The sleep is mainly good. Also emotional development. Yeah, this quality data is related to mother perception about the temperament of their children, and are in general more self-confident than insecure, more extroverted than introverted, more relaxed than anxious, and more independent than dependent. But we notice a balance between impulsive and reflexive.
Authentic.
Reflexive. And the social relationship with peers or authorities, like teachers, families, is easy. From the mother overview, lotus birth children appears to be strong. Obviously, during their growth, there is a tendency to fall ill due to the exposure at school or at nursery school. But the healing process, this is curious, is something fantastic, because the healing process is quicker and the symptoms are very moderate. Okay. Mothers have been asked if lotus birth had somehow influenced their children's behavior and wellness. 96% answered yes in a very positive way, and the 4% did not know what to say. But the following question, would you repeat the experience for another pregnancy? The answer has been unanimous. 90% said yes. I then asked to the mother an open question. Tell me just one adjective, the main characteristic to describe your child. And those characteristics have been collected in a cluster, divided in age, without making any interpretation. And these are the main characteristics for them. Curious, precocious, reflexive, respectful, yeah.
So at the same time, you can see they are very passionate, dynamic, and volcanic. It means that they have a lot of aliveness. They're very energetical.
Sometimes they are really challenged. You see challenge? Mosquito.
Yeah, it's challenging.
It's a challenging Lotus birdie. Okay.
For the mothers.
Yeah, for the family, sure. Some pictures again. Also, you have twins. So, what about the conclusion of my survey? Yes. Lotus birth is a choice, mainly from, so this is like a summary that I'm doing. Lotus birth is a choice mainly from couples living North Italy, in which women are middle, high scholastic level. The Lotus experience has been positive, and they declare to be ready to repeat it and to suggest it to others. And this survey gives us the overview of children basically extroverted, relaxed, and with the inner capacity to an emotional self-control. They are comfortable with social relations, independent, and in such a way a little impulsive. The motor and cognitive development takes place in a standard way, and learning capability is good. Lotus bird children do not get sick easily, and they are rather strong. So the work, leave it. Work in progress, what is that? This survey allows me to introduce you, as Indalecia told you before, the first Italian data, and this seems also to be the only one in the world. However, I would like to highlight the possible bias due to the mother's self-report. As we all know, mothers are enthusiastic about their children. But the future perspective is to expand this study to all the actual registered birth and the future ones. I know there is a lot of Lotus birth happening in Italy without being registered. This is just beginning, I think. And what I got from this study, for me, this survey revealed and confirmed my perception that Lotus birth babies are born with respect. And because of this, they acquire this respect for themselves and for their lives. This study also brought me the awareness to continue this path, which is in my heart, as the most safely, natural, and respectful way to come into this world. No interference between baby and placenta could be the path of body and spirit integration. Okay. Here's my biography. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I want to read something. One of the testimonials of the mothers. One day I asked my son, "Why you choose me?" And his answer was, "Before arriving into my belly, I was at the moon,
not the one in the sky, but on your moon, because you were a warm moon and I was cold. And this is a beautiful testimonial because, you know, when you find these beautiful children coming from the Lotus birth, that they are complete, they are whole, so they are very present and they are very connected. This is another testimonial. He is a very sensitive and respectful toward other kids. He doesn't want to wear anywhere with t-shirts with a tiger face because his friend Indalecia felt frightened. So they're very conscious about the emotions of their own companions of life. They're very respectful. And what touched both of us at the beginning, it was that when we had the experience of the first Lotus birth child, it was a friend of mine that I it was Jennifer. Jennifer, she is a yoga teacher, and when we came out with a book, the new book, Lotus Birth in Italian, we saw the midwife was coming into that book. It was like, what is this? Oh my God, what is this? And for us, it was a surprise to find that one of the midwife was just, finally, this is the book, wow. And we just turned on our faces and said, oh my God, what happened here? So she did the work of Lotus birth. She did deliver the baby with Lotus birth. And then we decided to invite father and mother and the midwife to have a connection also with the baby. What a beautiful thing. Because when we had that connection with the baby, the only thing the baby did when we just come in, close their eyes and connect with us with a heart. In that moment, we feel the gratitude of this baby connecting with us, saying thank you. And that's why we are continuing to this. As a breath worker, for me, it's beautiful to continue to send this message. And Susanna, my sister, she is continuing with this survey, with this connection with hospitals, midwives. And right now we are in a huge challenging moment because we are wanting to continue this challenging journey of bringing consciousness to all the women to have the Lotus birth babies. Yes.
Okay, so very quickly, I know that there are quite a few women that are pregnant here, and I would love to know if any of them have considered or would be considering having a Lotus baby after this keynote speech, and thank you very much.
It's always happening when a pregnant woman comes to a conference like this, immediately wants to give birth in this way. Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
Do you have a group of parents?
Wait a minute, you get a microphone. Go ahead.
It will work.
Yes, Veronica Lotus, very nice. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. My question is, did you have a parallel group that didn't give birth with Lotus birth, with the same questionnaire, with the same pattern? to compare the answers.
You mean that we do a survey for no parents not?
Well, you've got a
envisioned?
questionnaire, yes? And you have a hypothetic that it is the Lotus burst that is having the impact, not other factors. So do you have a parallel group that didn't have Lotus?
No, we don't have that. But we can just say that the families, at the same time, maybe they have more children that were not Lotus born, and they can compare the difference between one to the other child. That's all. But to do what are you asking is quite difficult, you know, because you have so many.
I know. It's surely a very, I mean, even the work you've done with this is a huge survey. I'm just asking a question because I don't think anybody in this room will disagree that the moment of birth is tremendously important for the well-being, for the human and the rest of the life. But my question is, if it's really the placenta that's making the difference, because my thought is like this kind of parents that do Lotus births are very conscious parents. And they do a lot of parenting, most likely quite different than the majority. So the question is whether it's really only the placenta that makes the difference, because I would say there's a lot of factors that produce that impact.
Okay, I will answer that question. I'm a breath worker, and we find always memories that comes in all the sessions that are the imprinting coming from the birth. So can you imagine, as you saw in the images that we're presenting while cutting the placenta, and what Susanna was explaining about relationships, and also what we feel when we are in an adult reality, that we feel that we are not longing in anywhere. So something is missing. This connection is missing. So we have to go to that part, that connection that we can have. And this survey helped a lot also for us as breath workers, because this is the result, and this is also a meaningful thing that we can help to the next generation to come to be complete, not, doing this work like we're doing.
Thank you very much for your talk, and there's of course more things we can talk about tomorrow. There is of course sample bias issues, there is of course control group issues, which are always issues in empirical research and which we have always to be aware of. And I'm very grateful that you were able to share your knowledge and your work with us. I think now it's time to go to dinner and ground this experience in a different way. So thank you a lot, and enjoy the evening. And